Hey, joining us now is a guy that I want to call him Mr. Versatility because not only can this guy help rehab a torn knee that's been corrected by surgery, he can tape ankles. He's great at caring for student athletes from a physical standpoint. I think he also has some pretty good degree on how to handle athletes, especially in dealing with injuries from the mental side of it, making sure they keep a good mental outlook. But also, the guy can raise some damn good beef. Okay, so I could vouch for him there too, and that's John Stemm. And John, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Robert?
Man, I'm doing good. Let's start with this because you're in the medical field. I realize you're not an expert on COVID-19 or the coronavirus, uh, but as you see this and see what it's done, and you probably look at the news reports like all of us. What are your thoughts on this right now? I mean, do you have a bright outlook, or are you like, whoa, this we're still in for some tough times? I mean, where are you on
Well,
that mental outlook?
obviously we need to do what our state governments are telling us to do. I think we've got some tough days ahead. I don't think we've hit the peak yet, but I'm really optimistic that we can flatten this curve and do what we're supposed to be doing, and all have public health in mind versus our personal agendas. And if we can get that done, we can get back to some normalcy, people getting back to work, people being able to open their shops and their stores again, and get our economy back on track to a point where we can start getting ready to play for some football in the fall. Because if we don't do the right thing, I pray that it's not going to be coming into play.
Yeah, I should have started with this. I know your son played over at NEO as a receiver
Yeah,
for Zach, and I know your wife and your family. Everybody doing okay?
everybody's fine. We have one son that was sick, and I wouldn't be. I did have him go tested. I was did what everybody else is supposed to do, is just sequester him up and let him ride it out, and he seems to be fine now. He was one of those Florida spring breakers that kind of ended up coming home a little bit early because of all the shutdown. So we're all good. Everybody's healthy. And I have we always have to get around here. We've had to put that on hold, which is really tough for us because we have all the kids come back, and we cook a big meal on Sundays, and we haven't been able to do that. So we're hurting in regards to that. But other than that, everybody's healthy.
You know, here's another thing too. I mean, you're not dealing with it because you don't necessarily have the athletes on campus per se, but for people that are trying to figure out whether they may have or need to be tested for the coronavirus in Oklahoma this time of year, most of us are sneezing or hacking up some because we got so many dang allergies in this state.
That's true. That is true. From what I understand, it seems like this virus has kind of mutated a couple times, and it's given some different signs and symptoms. But talking to Dr. Ivan, he's probably the best person to answer that question. But one of the big three is a dry cough, headache, and fever. Those are the three big things that if we have an athlete call in and say that that's what they're feeling, that's when we start pumping the brakes and start trying to really dig into it and start to work our plan in place, what we do when an athlete calls in. But you're right. We've heard all kinds of different ranging symptoms, but I think those are the big three.
Spring football had started, and I know, I mean, I don't. John loves this because I'll show up and at practice, and I'll see somebody over on the side and say, "What's wrong with him?" And John just likes to look at me and say, "I can't tell you that," and I'm like, hey, off the record. I mean, hey, I'm not going to go publicize it. He goes, I can't tell you that. And he loves because he sees the
There
look
is
on
no
my
off
face.
the record with you.
Oh, come on, man! I'm the best in the world at off the record, but I understand. It's hey, my wife works for a dental office, and they have HIPAA, and like she'll say if someone a Thunder player came in, and I'll say, well, what would y'all do to him? She goes, I can't tell you that. That's there's we got violations. Her boss is the dentist, team dentist for the Thunder, but so and it's okay. But um, what I was going to say is a number of players, Tylen we knew wasn't participating. We knew Kobe Hardwell Peel wasn't participating in spring. Chuba, they were going to go light on him regardless. And some guys, you know, I know the common phraseology is had cleanup, something done to clean up, whether it's a knee, a shoulder, elbow, whatever, all those things. But you have to stay in communication with these guys gone now. For instance, yesterday I was talking to Mandy Moore because I'm going to do a story on her. I think she's one of the most impressive moms of players to come through Oklahoma State in a long time. And so nobody ever does stories on the moms. And so I'm going to do kind of a story on her and say, hey, there's a lot of stories with these moms that support their sons and are playing college football. But you got to kind of stay in touch with these guys. Some of them are still very active in rehab. She mentioned to me, she goes, the great thing for Tylen is he has Trayson. Trayson's been through it so many times, he kind of knows it backwards and forwards, and he can kind of help him. But she goes, I know that he's been in touch with John. I think she said something about a group in Fort Worth, but now it's even hard to get these guys local help because non-essential medical is kind of by the wayside. So how difficult has that been for you?
Well, it has, and I have to do a shout out to my staff. We've done a wonderful job, and everybody's done a wonderful job communicating with their student athletes and who they are responsible for. Scott and Mac with football have done a wonderful job of getting everybody lined up. And what we've done is we've actually set up there's a website that we can use that sends out home exercise programs that have videos and still pictures, and we got that going. So every one of our sports, if there's somebody that needing rehab, we can email them a home exercise programs based on kind of what they have available. There that have some availability some ways. There's some that don't. So we can tailor a home exercise program based on what we have. So that's been really good. Again, my staff have been wonderful. They've been on top of it from day one. We have a pretty good grasp, and I would say we have actually an excellent grasp of where our kids are at. Obviously, we would love to be doing it ourselves and to be able to see them daily. But for this situation, I couldn't be more proud of my group.
That sounds good. Again, I'm going to ask you because I think you can come at this with an educated opinion. I've talked to a number of people, from coaches to administrators to even the commissioner of the Big 12. Bob Bowlesby weighed in on it last week at his teleconference. He said if student athletes could get back on campus sometime in early June, you could pretty much go standard operating procedure. You could pretty much go with a itinerary or a calendar similar to what you've always done, even without having spring football, even without the time. And in May is generally a month off anyway for the football side of it. But he said if we get them back on campus in early June, we can do schools can do what they've normally done. If it's later than that, mid June to 1st of July, even later, we're going to have to rip up the script and come up with a new one. And tell you what, Todd Bradford was the first one that clued me in. We've got Todd coming up next hour. We were just talking. And he goes, Robert, we don't know when we'll get them back. And when we do, you got to figure out what you can do to get them in the best shape and ready for a football season. Otherwise, you could have more injuries than you've ever had. That's your line of work. When you look at this, and Bob Bowlesby said, you know what, we may have to look at an NFL type situation do some OTAs, let the coaches get with them some, even have some short practices in, even before you open fall camp to kind of get into this a little. What's your viewpoint on that? Because you look at it pretty much purely from a player safety standpoint.
Yeah, that is certainly something that we've talked about, and it's a little scary. I do know that the Big 12 is going to probably have some kind of mandated script for us that we kind of all have to abide by. And the one thing that you have to remember is that everybody's going to be in the same boat. So if we're deconditioned, which I don't think we will be, we won't be like we were, but Coach Glass and his group do such a wonderful job. We're going to be in shape as best as we can, but that same shape is going to be at OU, it's going to be at K-State, it's going to be at Kansas. We're all in the same boat, and really for that matter across the nation. So it's going to be kind of like way back in the day when they didn't have any summer stuff, just kids rolling in August and ready to go. But you're right, we will probably have more injuries than we've ever had before, just because they have been finely tuned all summer. And we're just going to have to deal with it best we can. There's not much we can do with it. The alternative is not to play football, and I don't think that's a very good one. So I think we're just going to have to roll the dice, keep our fingers crossed, be as good as we can, and trying to get the guys ready to go, and just let the chips fall where they are when the season kicks off.
All right, I'm going to give out John's phone number here, 405-742-7463. And then you can contact him, email john.stem@yahoo.com. And you're saying, is he going to start doing Q&A on our sports medical injuries? No, no, this
Hey,
is
that
the other side. This is the other side of it. And by the way, I'll be pulling some out of the freezer in a little bit. I'll be pulling some hamburger because I told my wife I was going to make her a lasagna. We'll make a little lasagna, so I'm gonna make a little
yep,
lasagna tonight. But for the first time, I got my beef from John Stemm because he has cattle and Cotton Stem Ranch, and I don't know if you still have some you were ready to go to market with, but I'm just telling you,
we do.
folks, it is some great stuff. And
Yep.
my wife's a pretty hard critic, and she looked at me and she goes, "Yeah, we won't do anything but this from now on." I said, "Oh, I like that." But how'd you get into this? Because you got enough things on your plate, but
Well,
what got you? Did Gundy? I mean, Gundy raises a lot of animals. I don't think he doesn't do his own beef, but how'd
he
you get
does
into
his
this?
for pets. Well, we had a very fortunate situation several years ago. A lot of neighbors in town got this land and wanted us to come out and kind of homestead kind of with them on this 160 acres. And so we did that, and we've got plenty of grass. And, with 5 kids in college, we just tried to figure out a way to, one, get a little tax break, two, a little for tuition, and be able to write stuff off. So we decided to start getting the cattle business, and we didn't have enough acres to do a big type of operation. So kind of just started looking around, and there wasn't a lot of just purely grass-fed, grass-finished beef for sale in Payne County. And so, there's a lot of people that talk about it's a little bit healthier, there's more fatty, and all that stuff. Me being in athletics and stuff like that, I thought that would be a good way to go. And so, former matter of fact, my dad back in the day, he now is on his 4th generation ranching in Grand Hills, Oklahoma, and it's called Hunt Farm or Hunt Ranch, and they do grass-fed, finished beef for Whole Foods. And so I buy their calves, and then I feed them out on our land. And so it's just been a really cool deal, and the meat is fantastic. It's 100% Angus. He's really into the genetic stuff, so he's really good bulls, first, and good cows, and we just breed really good calves and buy calves, and now started breeding. Bought 2 right after this year, and so we're going to kind of start doing that on our own now. So I've got a little experience. I got a little black book people interested in me myself, and so it's just kind of taken off from there. You're right, I don't have a lot of time, but when they're grass feeding, you don't have to spend a lot of time working with them because their job is just to eat grass shot, and so I got to make sure that they don't look sick and they have plenty of water. They kind of mow our yards more, so that's pretty much what we do. And my wife, Kim, she grew up on a farm, and she helps out a lot. She enjoys that part. And the calving season is always fun because we got all these people having around the pasture and then the cow.
Well, I can tell you this. I guess it was not last weekend. Weekend before last, I did top round, and I did it in a London broil, uh,
Mm.
and put some mushrooms and onions on it. And it's top round is supposed to. It's from the leg, supposed to be. It's a tougher cut. A lot of people use it to make jerky, and
Yeah.
uh, and my wife said, "Is this going to be tough?" And I said, I hope not. I'm trying not to, and it came out. It was great, and it wasn't tough. In fact, you didn't even need a sharp knife. You could cut it with a butter knife. And then after that, we had leftover to it, and she took it and made beef stroganoff with it. I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
it was killer. So and that's
Tried
top
that round
round.
steak with fajita.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
so
you can do
cut that
fajita
up
meat
in
with it.
stripes
Yeah.
and made it and let it sit in that marinade for a day, and then just kind of grill it either on flat plate on a griddle. Oh my god, that's unbelievable. Yeah,
Well,
meat's pretty special.
yeah, here's the deal. If this thing keeps going, I'm just turning this into a cooking show, and you'll probably be a guest more often because we'll talk about
Hey,
beef recipes. So,
you'll have
hey,
to get my wife on now. She can cook. Let me tell you, she can cook. So
uh, the,
she'd
the
be more
the
than happy to share some of her secrets.
I haven't had him on, but Barry Henson keeps telling me he wants to come on and talk barbecue because he's got like three smokers. He's like
Uh,
he fancies himself a pit master. So, uh,
that I'm
yeah.
not.
Yeah, when you run into him, say, "Hey, Robert Allen told me you're a pit master." He'll
Yeah.
jump right into it. Of course, there's not many conversations Barry Henson doesn't jump into anyway. So, hey, John, I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, take care.
You bet. Thanks, Robert.